Hey there, Mike Dunn, Editor-in-Chief of Tabletop, and I've got something very special to tell you about. It's a new crowdfunding campaign from Gooey Cube. It's called The Tomb of Gyzengax. It's a tribute to Gary Gygax and many of the legends that created the wonderful game that we all love to play. The link is right down here. Go hit it up, back it. You can't go wrong.
All right, it's finally time to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth again. My name is David Burdett. I'm lead editor with Gamingtrend.com, and I was invited by Square Enix to a special press event. We got hands-on time with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I got a picture with the Buster Sword. We got to meet the game director and producer. It was just a ton of fun, but of course, the main reason we're there playing that game. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is less than a month away. You just saw some really cool stuff from the State of Play. And, let's just get right into it. So I did a preview back last September, and I focused a lot on just the systems that were in play. What we played was a lot more of the single player area. We got a little bit of time in the open world, but it didn't feel like very large what we got to actually touch. So in this preview, I want to focus a little bit more on the open world, even though I'm going to touch a little bit on the Nibelheim incident, which that is the opening act of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Most of us know about the Nibelheim incident. I'm not going to get into all the different particulars of it, but essentially this is how Sephiroth kind of becomes the villain. And this mission is definitely along the lines of Remake. It's not as much of an open mission. It's very straightforward, very linear. So everything that you're going to be doing in this opening, it's going to feel familiar. That said, the presentation is top notch. They have done a fantastic job of recreating the Nibelheim incident. Playing through it just is chilling. It's chilling watching all of this stuff happen, and it is a fantastic and bombastic opening to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The coolest thing, of course, playing this demo for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was the second chapter that we were able to play, and this was us going to the City of Calm, as well as it opens into the Grasslands. You don't get to stay in Calm for very long. There's an incident that happens there, which forces you out of the city, but that's fine, because the second you step into the Grasslands, it's just astounding how large of a scale that Creative Business Unit 1 has built this. And what's insane is this is just one of the sections of the open world. This honestly feels like it could be the only section you play, and it's a big enough open world that, some games would be jealous of what's here. But just the Grasslands is fantastic and is awesome.
Breathing planet. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
Eventually you do get to go back to Calm and get to explore it and do some missions and whatnot, but it's that extension of the Grasslands, this open world. One of the things that they have really done a great job with is upgrading your traversal. I know it's not necessarily a huge difference in this. You're still just walking around and whatnot, but it feels like Cloud can jump higher, mantle like up on ledges that are a lot higher than necessarily you had in Remake, along with just there's a lot of auto mantling over these little tiny, like you'll have a little ledge or something like that. Like everything feels cleaner from a gameplay perspective, and I really appreciate the focus on that. Like it's almost a Breath of the Wild feel, like not in the sense of climbing everything that you can, having a stamina meter, but it's just there's a crispness in getting around the world that didn't exist in Remake. That's partially due to the scale of Remake being smaller, but at the same point, it's something that is realized here, and I appreciate that. It is gorgeous too, just absolutely jam-packed with details, like the tufts of grass that you're just trampling over as you're going through different places, the broken bricks of old abandoned buildings and bridges. Like they just have put a lot of effort into making this look pretty, look populated, all the things that you want with a game to have those extras that just draw you into this immersive experience. Those are here.
Favorite group of hitchhikers.
Oh.
After walking around this world and everything, it's very easy to ascertain how this is going to make it to being a 40-hour story and a 100+ hour experience. It's just massive and is going to take a lot to get through.
For a lift anytime. Except today, that is. Afraid the old bute's pulled up lame. Sorry about that.
As I mentioned before with the combat, we had a preview that I'm going to link down in the description last year where I talked about the structure of it, but here I don't want to really talk about the structure. I want to talk about how you engage in this open world. Now, there are going to be just creatures out and about as you're going around, but the cool thing, of course, here compared to, 1997 when, oh no, the screen is doing the thing and the music is playing and stuff, and boom, you're inside of a battle. Here, you see what's on the map, so you can go and avoid it. You don't have to fight things because you're on a big open world map. But the cool thing is, if you decide to engage, you can get a first strike bonus for hitting right away before they have recognized you in their area. On that same note, there are going to be some local wildlife that you don't even have to fight. They're just going to run away from you. They're not going to really want to engage with you. It's up to you as to how you want to engage and fight with these creatures in the environment. One of the first things that I did when I jumped into the grasslands was go and fight a bunch of orcs. And I noticed that the combat, something has been adjusted even compared to my demo in September and adjusted from Remake as well. I'm not sure exactly what it is that they've done, if the controls are tighter, but there's a heaviness and impact that is there when you are fighting different creatures, whoever it is that you're fighting.
No time to celebrate.
The Buster Sword, it just seems to hit harder. The same with all of your different party members with their weaponry. Like there's something about the impact of combat that has been elevated. While I think some of it can be attributed to the PlayStation 5 and the ability to, add extra particle effects and whatnot, I think a lot goes with the sound design team over at Creative Business Unit 1. The sound design is top tier. Like, it just, every time you hit something, you feel the weight of it and the impact of it in your headset or from the speakers, however you're engaging with the sound of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I mean, one of my favorite attacks is Braver, that is an ability in the game, and even that felt like there were just, I slammed down with the Buster Sword onto the enemy, and you just felt the impact, and that's something that I think is there in Remake, but it is even more there in Rebirth. Again, have to give lots of kudos to the sound and combat teams. They nailed it in Remake, but it is just S tier here in Rebirth. Something else that was in my preview in September, I was curious how they were going to fill an open world because there wasn't necessarily a ton of stuff in the Junon region we got to do in September, and it left you wondering what kind of activities that you'd be engaging in. And all of those fears, they were assuaged immediately in the grasslands. As soon as you get to the Chocobo Ranch, you end up running into Chadley again, and he talks to you, and you get to, unfortunately, the old trope, the towers, those are back to reveal areas, reveal new stuff to do. On the plus side, there's no extra platforming, minigame kind of stuff to go and do. You just go activate the tower, and you're done. But it unveiled a bunch of different things on the map for me to be able to do. Like there was a Moogle area where I had to go and do this little kind of mini game thing that was really cutesy and fun to unlock the Moogle shop. But that also gave me more intel for Chadley so that he can create new materia, and of course I get more lore behind everything.
We aren't open quite yet.
This also includes the Fiend intel, where you fight specific creatures, and you've got a couple of specific things that you have to do for this fight to be successful for you to get that world intel.
So for the sake of your feathered friends, mow those mandragoras down.
I'll take care of them.
There's a couple of other side activities that I didn't get to try, but these were ones that were there that I got to engage with, and they were a lot of fun, so I expect the other ones that we're going to be able to do will be equally as fun. I did get to do a Chocobo race, and I did also a couple of rounds of the Queen's Blood, I believe it is. It's the card game that's in there. That seems like something that could be really addictive. I know there was a lot of people that got addicted to the Witcher 3 card game, and yeah, Queen's Blood, there's a good chance you're going to be playing that for a little while. While all these side things are great when it comes to populating the world, though, you have to have those really heartfelt missions, those good side missions, to go along with the really good story missions. And the good news is, from where Remake had a lot of those really great engaging side missions, those are here as well in Rebirth. I was the one who wrote the Spider-Man 2 review for Gamingtrend, and one of the things I loved that Insomniac did was they created these heartfelt stories. It wasn't just side missions with villains and all that such. They had stuff that was just these side activities in the world that was just an everyday kind of thing, but it was heartfelt. It was personal stories that really gripped at you. And one of the ones that I got to do in this Rebirth preview was very much like that, and I can tell that's going to make me love this game all the more.
We could do the picking for you? Sure.
It was one where you help this little girl to pick flowers. It's because her mom and her dad had disappeared when she was young, and one of the memories that she had was these flower crowns that her mom used to make for her. They'd go to this specific area on the map, they'd pick the flowers, and then they would make them. And you get the opportunity to go and get those flowers and bring them back to her so that they can be made. It's a really sweet, touching part of the story, and of course, it directly relates to Aerith, which kind of brings us into the next part of this. Relationships are something that matter in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and they matter because it's going to influence your party members and what they like or dislike about you. I'm not sure how deep all of this is going to go, but there's an emoji meter that's going to let you know how happy or sad someone is with you.
Though, don't run off just yet.
For instance, this flower mission, you could really tell that Aerith, she wanted you to do it. That's something that they really telegraphed at the beginning, the reveal of this mission. And so going and doing that, gave me points with Aerith so that she was all happy with me.
We had fun helping people in Sector 5, right? Same deal.
What I'm really curious about is if there's ways to impact people to be mad at you or angry or sad or whatnot. There's going to be some very interesting choices that you're going to have to make that, I mean, this is going to influence how the game works. Again, not sure how deep everything is going to be. And it may even be just kind of surface level in the sense of it's just influencing the Golden Saucer mission. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the date, who you go with. Here's hoping, though, that this can have a deeper impact on the gameplay, and I get the feeling it will, considering it is actually a system in the game as opposed to hidden values. In any case, all of the characters are just totally killing it. Some of my favorite voice actors do Cloud, as well as Aerith, Tifa, Barret. I mean, the list goes on. All of these characters are expertly voiced. It shows through. You don't waste your characters. They are not wasting the characters with side missions. They're not wasting the characters with this relationship system. This is exactly what you should want if you're coming from Remake into Rebirth, is just more engagement with these characters, and that's exactly what we're getting. Something that really stuck with me at the end of the open world, there's a boss that you get to fight. This may be where you transition to the next open world area or linear mission, but the fight with the boss is really amazing. But it's the fact that I lost after I gave it my all. I was switching between characters, I was doing different spells, I was keeping my party members up, but eventually I still fell to this boss. And after it wasn't this thought of, okay, I missed something, I didn't use this materia, whatnot. It was the thought of, I should go back into the open world and grind a bit and do a couple more missions, do some things, fight some things that will level me up. And that's really cool because Remake, for as great as it is, it's very linear and you just go from point A to point B. Whereas with this, it's that old school Final Fantasy grind. It's back to that, oh man, I can't beat this thing, so I gotta go back and level up. Like, that is so super cool to me, so great to have that feeling back. And it's that feeling that comes from the way they've designed this game, this open world, to facilitate that. And I just love that we have the old school RPG, JRPG grind back in Final Fantasy. Before we go as far as technical aspects go with the game, I did play in both modes, in graphics mode and performance mode. And graphics mode, it actually runs really well. I was very impressed with how well all the fights ran and whatnot. It works. It works. It may not be as high of a frame rate, but it works, and the game is so pretty, you really want to engage Final Fantasy in graphics mode. But that's kind of twofold, because I did do performance mode, and performance mode, yes, frame rate jumps up, looks really nice, but you do lose, it's a pretty obvious shift in graphical fidelity. You definitely have a lower fidelity when shifting to performance mode, and you have to make that decision. Do you want the frames? Do you want the pretty graphics? They may make some adjustments from here. There may be a patch that comes in day one, maybe a little bit later. You have to make the decision on how you want to engage it, but personally, I would tell you, I would stick with graphics mode. Graphics mode played really, really well, so I believe that is the way that you want to engage with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Another way that you're going to be able to engage with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is photo mode. That was available in our preview, so I am assuming that is going to be available right out the gates for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Get ready. I am going to post so many pictures of not just all the characters, but the world itself. It's just gorgeous, and it deserves to be seen, and I'm thankful that photo mode is in the game so that we get to share it even more. All in all, playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for a second time, I really got that sense of what they're going for in this game, this open world, the sections. This is just going to be incredible to engage with. I love Remake. I've been replaying Remake. Remake is definitely one of my favorite games. I love the characters. I love the setup. But transitioning into this grander scale, it is as grand as it looks in all of these trailers. That's, again, nothing against Remake. Remake is great, but I'm ready for Rebirth. I can't wait for you to be able to engage with it. Let us know what you think about all this cool stuff, all the footage that you've seen of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from this preview, from other previews. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth launches exclusively on PlayStation 5 on February the 29th. Check the links in the description below to pre-order, as well as to check out our previous preview and our current written preview that just went up. Again, I am David Burdett, lead editor with Gamingtrend.com. Thank you so much for your time spent watching this. We will see you in the next video.